is we have to be absolutely... I do object to being called a Nazi, actually.
Right. Well, apologies to you if you're offended by what you're listening to.
I just think this is astonishing. This is what has happened to our country, actually. This is what's happened to our country. But anyway, let's try and move on and be positive about things.
What you're seeing here is a pro-EU United Kingdom MP named Anna Salisbury getting a little miffed about being called a Nazi. And of course, the news defending her feelings. This is very funny, as the mainstream media has already dubbed the UK Yellow Vest as far right, and, well, they've applied the Pepe meme to them. This is made extra ironic in that the Anti-Defamation League calls Pepe nothing short of a Nazi hate symbol. So I guess it's just not so fun for her when the shoe is on the other foot. But at the end of last year, Yellow Vest activists within the United Kingdom promised mayhem if Brexit was not delivered. In fact, a prominent political figure named Mr. Hunt also went on record fearing the same thing. And as you will see here, in the first weeks of January 2019, the Yellow Vests made good on their threat. As you can see, the police were eager to shut them down. So much so, even a 13-year-old girl was arrested for, quote, assaulting an officer. Now, the police reaction was not totally uncalled for, however, as we'll see in this next clip. Some, and I emphasize some, Yellow Vest members can be seen blocking an ambulance. Now, you can contrast that with this in France, where Yellow Vests almost seem to part like the Red Sea for a passing ambulance. But like their Yellow Vest counterparts, in France, the UK Yellow Vests also seem to be made up of both right and left-leaning members, simply fed up with the ineptitude of their government. Take, for example, this photo of Yellow Vests sporting the EDL symbols, or this photo, apparently showing Yellow Vests supporting a hammer and sickle. I cannot confirm where these photos were taken, but it is quite interesting nonetheless. But speaking of interesting, a man named James Gullard is credited, at least in part, for organizing these demonstrations throughout London. Take a look at him here and his interaction with the police.
So that's alright, is it? Do you know what? Every fucking morning you a fair game. You want a war? I'll give you a war. You want it? It's on every Saturday. You are fair game.
I'm not deaf.
Nonce. You ain't even fucking British.
Allegedly, PayPal and Facebook removed this man from their social media sites after the MP was called Nazi in public. The police also used this Nazi, quote, harassment of the MP as an excuse to crack down hard on the Yellow Vest demonstrators. Allegedly, the police outnumbered the demonstrators showing up in their yellow vests, basically guaranteeing arrest if you were spotted wearing the yellow vest. So much so, demonstrators removed their iconic yellow vests for fear of persecution. The catalyst for these protests is no secret. 52% of the British people voted to leave the EU. Theresa May and her government had done nothing but bungle the entire ordeal. So much so, Theresa May barely survived a vote of no confidence from within her own government just last week. So again, this is where the French and the UK Yellow Vest movements collide. They want their prime ministers to resign, and in fact, they demand it. I would be remiss if I did not at least show you this next clip. It would seem Yellow Vest organizers attempted to keep the violence out of the equation, but the police sort of forced their hand. Again, this is only as it appears, I cannot be certain, but please take a look.
Come on! Hey! No violence! No violence! Hey! No violence! No violence! No violence! Take it! They're trying to cause violence! They're trying to cause violence! They're trying to cause violence! Hey, stop! They're trying to cause violence!
So like it or not, the UK Yellow Vest movement appears to have a point. Although still much smaller than their French counterparts, they cannot be counted out yet. Please let me know in the comments below what you think the future is for the UK Yellow Vest movement. Are they patriots fighting for their futures, or are they sort of co-opting the Yellow Vest movement for their own dark designs? But as always, guys, big shout out to my PayPal and Patreon supporters. I appreciate everything you do for me. And until next time, guys, peace out.
I do object to being called a Nazi, actually. I do object to being called a Nazi, actually. I do object to being called a Nazi, actually.